in this video, I'm going to be explaining with you guys why you can't stay in the gym for longer than a month, why you can't commit, and I'm holding you accountable here because, and I'm gonna suss you out like, I can see you through the screen, mate, right? You try and commit to the gym, you really get hyped at the start, and you may train hard for the first little bit, and then you just fall off after a month, and then you feel shit, and you're in that never-ending loop and that never-ending cycle of not being able to commit, and after a year, you're stuck in this never-ending cycle, and you don't get anywhere, and you're literally still at square one, and you haven't even moved. Right, so I'm going to explain in this video why you can't stay in the gym for no longer than a month. But before I get into that, I just want to briefly introduce myself to you guys. So if you don't know me already, my name is Ryan, and I've undergone a physical and mental transformation over the past 3 years, as you can see on the screen right here. And I'm on a mission to help and inspire skinny young men to do the exact same thing, who struggle with weight gain, struggle to gain muscle, and struggle to find success in the gym. So without further ado, let's get into this video. So the main reason, right, why you can't stay in the gym for longer than a month, and why you're being a pussy, and why you can't commit. Oh, sorry, I was looking over at my plan because it's fallen off, right? So the main reason why you can't commit is because you're inconsistent. You have no consistency, and this is evident because you quit after a month and you can't stay in the gym for no longer than a month, right? And without consistency, you literally cannot get anywhere. Do you think some of the most successful men who have built their physiques or built one of the biggest, most valuable businesses in the world, do you think they're inconsistent? No, they're consistent. Being consistent is the driving force behind success, because in order to reach success, you have to play the long game, and especially with the gym is a delayed gratification game. So you have to show up all the time, when you're meant to, when you feel like it and when you don't feel like it, no matter whether you like it or not. You've got to be consistent over a long period of time, and that is when you're going to start seeing physical changes, and that's when you're going to see yourself gaining some muscle that you really want to gain and that you wanted to gain at the start of your journey, and that's how you're going to be satisfied with your physique. So you've got to be consistent, because you don't get because people get rewarded for consistency and people get punished for inconsistency. And you watching this video, if you can't stay in the gym for no longer than a month, you are therefore inconsistent. Therefore you're getting punished because you're in this never-ending cycle and you're just not getting anywhere. So you've got to be consistent, and this is so important. And the main point and the main reason I'm making this video is one of the reasons why you are inconsistent at the start of your journey. This is because you jump straight into the deep end. You try and do all this high intensity stuff, and you listen to people who have been in the gym for over 5 years, and you try and follow exactly what they're doing. But what you don't realize, and you don't see what they were doing at the start, and you only see what they're doing now in order to help them gain muscle in their boots, right? You try and do what they're doing, you try and copy the stuff you're doing, and it's just way out of your league. Way out of your league. It's way too intense, way too heavy, way too long, and way too mentally fatiguing, right? And it's just a mess, right? I see this with so many people that start the gym. They train too intense at the start, and they try all of this advanced shit, and then they get demotivated, and then they don't want to go to the gym, which leads to the inconsistency. Therefore they don't get anywhere and they quit. So jumping straight into the deep end is probably the worst thing you've got to do, and you've got to build it up slowly but surely. And I'm going to talk about that after I've talked about why jumping straight into the deep end is so bad. And I want to give you an example of what jumping straight into the deep end is, okay? And this is following Arnold Schwarzenegger's program, for example, right? 7-time Mr. Olympia, even though he was training in the 1970s, and his training may be a little bit inefficient and ineffective. If you try and follow it step by step, literally everything, every single exercise, all the rest times, all the supersets, all the drop sets, you're literally going to quit in a month, because your body's not used to it. And that's what I'm going to get into, and that brings me perfectly on to my first reason why jumping straight into the deep end and trying all the experience shit is bad when you start, and it's going to make you quit in a month. And this is because you're not allowing your body to adapt. By doing this, you're lacking adaptation physically to training, and this is because your body needs time to adapt, right? When you start training for the first time, obviously your body's not going to be used to training against resistance, so it needs time to be able to adapt to this. And over time you can build up the intensity, build up the weight, and build up all of this stuff. But you need to start it simple so you can adapt properly physically. I'll give you an example of how your body adapts, right? And if you train way too intense, then you're obviously going to see this, right? So in my first session in my garage downstairs, I literally, all I did was bicep curls and abs. And in my school community, I have a video that tells you my story, so you can go and listen to more about it if you want. But so in my first gym session in my garage downstairs, I was doing bicep curls and abs, really simple, really low intensity. I can't even remember it, and I barely knew what I was doing, right? But for the next bloody week, right, even though I didn't know what I was doing, I literally had zero intensity, zero structure, or anything to the session. I just picked up the dumbbells and did some of this, and I laid on the floor and did some of this, right? Did some abs. But I was hurting for the next week and a half, 2 weeks, right? I couldn't straighten my left arm for like almost 2 weeks, like properly. I couldn't do that because I was literally stuck here because of how sore I was and how tight my muscle was for the next 2 weeks. So your body is not used to it, and you're gonna see it. This is basically called DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness. So, and it's going to be the bloody worst when you start training for the first time because, as I said, your body's not used to it, and your body needs to adapt to resistance training and training with weight and training against resistance. So if you jump straight into the deep end, then you're not allowing your body to adapt. And this brings me on to my second reason why this is bad, is because if you jump straight into the deep end and try all of this advanced stuff straight away when you're a beginner, and you try and do complex stuff in the gym, you're going to give yourself an increased risk of getting injured, right? And this is because it can, obviously, it leads to injuries because you don't know what, first of all, you don't know what you're doing, right? If you try and do a superset or a really advanced drop set in the gym, or you try and perform an exercise at the very start of your gym journey that's really advanced and the technique and the form is really advanced, then you don't know what you're doing. Therefore, the likelihood of you getting injured is a lot higher because, if you don't perform technique right, then you're going to start putting stress on parts of your body that don't need the stress, such as your joints and all of that stuff, which can lead to you getting injured if you try all this advanced shit and you don't know what you're doing. So it's so important that you keep it simple. You let your body adapt. You keep it simple. So you sort of know what you're doing at the start, and even if you don't, you're not going to risk injury because you're not trying all this advanced stuff. So you're not going to be as vulnerable, and it's going to be a lot easier to learn. And yeah, you just got to let your body adapt because without adaptation, then you're going to be physically fucked, and that's what leads to people quitting. And I just want to give an example in a corporate concept of why adapting is so important, right? So if you arrive to your new job, right? So for example, if you're a sales rep or a sales executive, or you do sales for a living, right? If you rock up to the office on day one, how do you think you're going to be at sales? And how do you think you're going to be in that working environment? You're going to be shit at sales, you're not going to know what you're doing, and you're going to be unfamiliar and uncomfortable with the environment. It's completely natural. When you do something completely new, you're not going to be used to it, and you're going to be shit at whatever you do because you've never done it before. Therefore, you adapt to it. You slowly, over time, you build up your skills in sales, and you slowly start doing new stuff, and you slowly start implementing tips that people give you. You don't jump straight to the advanced shit and try some advanced like objection handles or advanced techniques in sales. You slowly build it up, and then you get better and better and better, and then you're going to have the capabilities to do the advanced stuff, right? And if you jump straight into the advanced stuff when you're trying to do sales, it's not going to work for you because you haven't adapted properly, and you haven't slowly built up your sales skills over time. You just skipped, and you just tried to jump up the ladder. Therefore, you're going to fall back down, and you're going to be back on the first step. And this can also lead to you being demotivated, and which I'm going to get onto in a second. But if you understand what I mean, so in relation, how that example relates to what I'm talking about. If you try and jump to the advanced shit in the gym straight away, then you're probably going to quit because you're not letting your body adapt. You're going to be ridiculously sore. You're not going to know what you're doing. And the chance of you, as I said, getting injured because you don't know what you're doing and because you haven't let your body adapt yet is going to be high. Therefore, the chance of you quitting and being in a never-ending loop again is a lot higher. So making sure you allow your body to adapt by not doing this advanced stuff is so important. It's just starting it simple, which I'm going to get onto in a few minutes. So now this brings me perfectly on to my third reason, okay? So you're obviously going to overtrain, and you're going to have burnout if you jump into all this advanced stuff straight away and try ridiculously strict workout routines straight away. And this is because if you jump into the big stuff straight away, it's going to take a toll on you physically and mentally, and you're going to be fatigued physically and mentally, and your performance in the gym is going to go down, not like it was very high anyway, because you start, you you're just starting out. And what this can also lead to is you getting injured as well. It brings it back to that, and you're gonna be able to, and you're gonna have to recover for a prolonged period of time, right? And you're literally gonna be burnt out, as I said. Therefore, you're probably going to quit, because being burnt out is not a good feeling, and you don't want to, and this may lead to you associating a gym with bad past experiences. Therefore, the likelihood of you quitting and being demotivated is a lot higher, and you don't want to be demotivated when you're training. It's all about enjoying the journey, and that brings me on to my next point on why this is bad. You're going to be demotivated and you're not going to enjoy the training as much. If you're on a super, 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 super strict training regime, right, when you start straight away, then you may enjoy it for the first week, but then it's gonna start to feel like a chore, and it's gonna start to feel like a task, because you haven't built it up slowly but surely, and you just started doing all of this stuff straight away. Therefore, you're gonna be demotivated, and you may lack enjoyment in, actually doing it. And people want to enjoy what they do in life, right? And they don't want to do stuff that they don't enjoy. Therefore, the chances of you being inconsistent and quitting is going to be high, because you're not going to enjoy it. It's going to start to feel like a task and a chore. So building it up slowly, doing the simple stuff first, and then you get to the advanced stuff later down the line, and you won't have that demotivation, and you'll be highly motivated, and you'll highly enjoy it down the line. But you want to make sure you enjoy the journey. It's all about enjoying the journey, and it's going to start to take a toll on you, and you're not going to really like it. Therefore, yeah, the chances of you quitting is going to be very, very high. And the gym is all about embracing the journey and loving the journey and enjoying the journey. And that's because, as I said earlier, the gym is a long-term game. It's a delayed gratification game, and you've got to be showing up every day whether you like it or not, and you'll see the results in the long term. And I want to just really quickly give you guys an example of someone else. If they jump straight into the big stuff, then they may not enjoy it, and they'll probably quit. So in professional football, right, when the professional footballers, when they actually join academies in their young years, they're usually probably around 8 or 9 when they first join an academy, right? If they jump straight into the big stuff, really, really strict routines like a professional footballer would, do you reckon they'll carry on playing football? No, because they'll start to not like it, and they'll start to be demotivated, and they won't find enjoyment in it, and it will feel like a task and a chore, right? So it's so important that you start off simple and you slowly build it up, right? Otherwise, you're going to quit and you're not going to enjoy it. And who wants to do something in life that they don't enjoy, okay? Now, on to the final reason as to why jumping straight into the deep end and trying all the complex and advanced stuff that you see of social media of someone that's been going to the gym for 5 years, doing that stuff is bad. And this is because you're gonna form poor habits. When you start a really, really strict, complex training program, for example, the chances of you not meeting the demands and living up to the demands of that training program and showing up when you're meant to all the time, the chances of them things happening are going to be very high. You're probably not going to keep up with it, right? Therefore, you're going to form that poor habit of being inconsistent and not showing up when you want to, which can also transfer into different aspects and avenues of your life as well. When you don't want to show up to work, you call in sick even though when you're meant to and when you should turn up to work. And that's just going to hold you back from being successful, not just in the gym, but in life. So it's so important that you just start simple and you slowly build it up, because you don't want to build these poor habits by jumping straight into the deep end, realizing, oh shit, I can't actually keep up with this, I don't enjoy this, and I don't feel motivated at all, and it's just going to lead to inconsistency and all this bad stuff. So it's so important, and I hope you understand now, if you're trying some really complex shit in the first week of your gym as a skinny man trying to bulk, it's not going to work out for you, and you've got to start simple and you've got to build it up from the start. Now, sorry, I'm just going to turn my page in my plan. Now, what you need to do instead, okay? Now we've established why jumping straight into the deep end and trying all the complex stuff that you see on social media is bad when you first start the gym, okay? And why you need to keep it simple. So, over time, you need to slowly build it up. And just remember, if you're thinking, oh, it's going to take ages, I just want to get there, right? Remember, the gym is a long-term game. So, absolutely no rush, right? You've got to build it up so your body can adapt. You don't feel demotivated and you actually enjoy the process, right? And you won't feel burnout, and the likelihood of you getting injured is going to be low, okay? So that you need to build it up, and what you need to do instead. So obviously, as I said, you don't want to be jumping straight to the deep end, and you don't want to be jumping the gun. And you need to start simple, so your workouts contain low intensity, not necessarily going to failure at the start. Having lighter weight, You know, making sure you're prioritizing and you're gaining knowledge on how to actually perform exercises and the fundamentals of how to perform exercises and how to stimulate the muscle properly, and don't necessarily go too heavy. And then, obviously, as I said, learn the right form and technique. The quicker you learn form and technique, the more you're going to grow muscle, and the quicker you're going to grow muscle, and the more ahead of the game you're going to get. So, you know, start simple, low intensity, so not going to failure, not going beyond failure at all, and then, you know, having lighter weight and learning the form and the technique at the start, which is going to propel you to getting ahead of everyone else and growing the muscle you want to grow earlier and as efficiently as possible. Okay, so the second thing that you guys need to do is just acknowledge the reality of the gym, how long it takes. Results don't come overnight, they come over time. They come over building consistent, good habits, slowly building it up over time, you know, slowly starting with the simple stuff, keeping it simple, low intensity, low weight, lightweight, learning the form and technique and the fundamentals and the basics, and not going to the advanced stuff straight away. And that is what makes someone successful in the gym. Okay, so I just want to go over a couple of really just some quick phrases with you guys, just to put it into perspective, how you need to acknowledge that it happens over time and not overnight, because that can be a really key driving force behind your motivation, and you don't really want to delude yourself into thinking that you can make good progress within the first month of your gym, which can lead to people quitting, because when they don't realize that they can make the progress that they originally want to, then they can quit. But I made another video on that. I'll leave that in the cards somewhere. You can just go and check that out on my channel. But so the first phrase that I want to get into is, have you ever heard of the phrase slow and steady wins the race? Have you ever heard of the story the tortoise and the hare? Right, the hare wanted to race the tortoise, and you know, the hare was cocky, right? The hare was arrogant, and it thought it could win, right? So mid race it just took a nap. But you know, tortoises are very, very slow. But the tortoise won the race because the hare got cocky, took a nap during the race, and then the tortoise overtook the hare and actually won. So to put it into perspective with the gym, you know, if you think you can do everything quickly, and if you think you can achieve progress quickly, and if you, in relation to this video, dive straight into the deep end and do all of the advanced stuff at the start and expect to make the same progression, then you're not going to win the race, right? You've got to start slow and you've got to build it up. And it's the exact same thing with the second phrase that I'm going to get onto. It's a marathon and not a sprint, okay? If you try and sprint 26 miles, you're going to quit very, very quickly, right? You're probably not going to make it past the first 1,000 meters if you sprint it, right? But if you slowly jog and, you know, keep going, consistent, slowly jogging, then you're gonna get there, and you're gonna achieve the success, and you're gonna get to the finish line. And in relation to the gym, if you're doing all of the advanced and complex stuff straight away, then the likelihood of you quitting earlier and within the first month of your journey is very high. But if you slowly build it up over time, just like with a marathon, if someone jogs the whole marathon, they're going to finish the race. If you build it up over time in the gym, slowly building your skills and slowly building your skill sets and all this stuff, then you're going to make it, mate, and you're going to be successful in the gym. So just remember those phrases whenever you know, just in order to stay consistent, and just remember that good progress happens over time and not overnight. So a quick summary of this last section of the video: just make sure you're slowly building it up over time, not doing any of the complex stuff, starting simple, starting with simple exercises, starting with low intensity, not going to failure, not doing supersets and drop sets and ridiculously pushing your pain and mental barriers, because you don't want to enter a mindset of not enjoying the gym, and you don't want to be demotivated, do you? And you don't want to see the gym as a chore and a task, because honestly, when you start to love the gym, that's when it all takes off, right? And if you're, you know, doing all the complex stuff and making your routine very highly demanding at the start, then the chance of you not meeting in demands are very high, which can lead to inconsistency, which can lead to you quitting. So just make sure you're keeping it simple, building up your skill assets, and just building up on the fundamentals, getting the fundamentals under wraps, knowing the basic techniques, and then you can work on it from there. Remember, slow and steady wins the race, and it's a marathon, not a sprint. So that is now the end of this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have enjoyed this video, and as I said, truly learned something, I'd really appreciate it if you drop a like, a comment, and a subscription down below, because, you know, the algorithm can recommend me to you more. You know, you can learn from me more. And one more thing as well, as I was saying earlier about me being on a mission to inspire and help skinny young men sculpt their physiques and achieve their dream physiques who struggle in the gym. In order to make this happen, I have really recently just launched my very own free online school community down below, first link in the description, and it's called the Slim to Sculpt Alliance. And the mission of this community and the vision that I have for this community is to be able to bring together and connect as many like-minded skinny young men who are embarking on the same journey, so we can all help each other and we can all ask for advice and we can all just help each other exponentially grow. And most importantly, I will be there to guide you, and I'm genuinely so passionate about this, and I really hope this project works, because as you guys saw at the beginning of the video, I was once a skinny young man myself, and I want to open as many eyes as possible to what the gym can actually do for the skinny young men, not just physically but for their lives as well, because genuinely it changes lives. Now, if that sounds like a good fit to you, then I'll see you inside. Tap the description and then request to join the community. As I said, it's completely free, and that's it. I'll see you in the next video.